Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69 and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a top 4 video, not a top 5, not a top 6 or a top 10. We're going to have a top 4 video, and we're going to look at the top 4 tanks that can be placed in the tech tree. Now, these 3 tanks right here count as one tank. We can actually add a line here. Well done to Fizzy for this amazing editing that he done. So in the tech tree, we could actually add the CDC, the Prot, and the 30B. Originally, when the Prot and the 30B come into the game, or was being planned into the game, they was actually being planned to come as a tech tree tank. So a lot of people was actually disappointed that they were for sale, and Wargaming, for some reason, I don't even know why, they changed their mind and they didn't bring him into the game. Not quite sure what the tier 8 was, but me and Fizzy thought, you know what, we can add the CDC in there as well. Maybe it could have been the FCM or something else, but we decided, you know, I love the CDC. The CDC is a great tank. Not a lot of people do like the tank. It is weak, it's got no armor, but it does have a great gun. When this tank first come into the game, it absolutely sucked, and there was no point playing this tank if you owned a Dracula, because the Dracula was much better, had the same amount of hit points, and it was a tier below. But now Wargaming have gave it some love. It's a much better tank. It's got more hit points, it's got better DPM. It's a nice tank. I really enjoy this tank, and usually when this tank comes for sale, you can pick this up for around 5k gold. It really is cheap. Normally on the Black Friday, this comes really cheap, so do look out for that. If you don't own a CDC, I would definitely recommend owning the CDC. But this is a tier 8 tank that I personally would like to have seen in the tech tree as a tier 8, as a whole new line, along with the Proto and the AMX 30B. So this game. I mean, we're gonna get lucky here. This is me using my CC hacks, my YouTube hacks. I'm thinking I'm going to die from this guy. We take 2 shots there. We're going to wiggle, and the 3rd shot we managed to get a bounce, and he gets ammo racked. So that is the CDC. Nice tank, and I think it would fit lovely in the tech tree. And the second goes to this tank right here, the 31ER, the 30 prototype. Again, this is one of my favorite tier 9 medium tanks. It's a great tank, a fantastic tank, and it's a really good buy if this tank does come for sale. It really is a good buy, and I definitely recommend buying this tank. Got lovely gun depression, it's got a lovely turret. I do actually think this is better than the 30B, because the 30B does have the hatch on top. So this hasn't really got the big hatch that the 30B has got. But it's still, both tanks are really nice, and this again would have been a lovely tank. I would have liked to have seen in a tech tree, in the French tech tree line. But unfortunately, I mean, this video is not going to help. I mean, I just wanted to do a video. It was Fizzy's idea. He's a patron. He does a lot for me, and it was his idea to do a top 5 video for tanks that could be in the tech tree. And actually, we did think of a few more than 4. We thought of a few more, like the WZ1115A. That could actually replace the 113, things like that, because it makes more sense in my eyes. You've got the WZ1111 1-4 and then the 113. In my opinion, it would have made sense to add the 1115A instead of the 113, and maybe add the 113 as a premium tank. So things like that, but we didn't put them in there. Also, you've got the T55A. We was actually going to add that, but then we totally forgot. We was going to add it onto the T54. That goes then onto the Object 140, and then the T54 goes onto the T62. So we could have had that, but then we realised I think it's actually a German tank, so we took that out of this this video, and instead of a top 5, we're going to do a top 4. So this is then the 30B. Again, it's a lovely tank. Even with the hatch, I absolutely adore this tank, because it fits my playstyle. The Leopard 1 is it is my favourite tank in the game. This is a kind of cross between a Leopard 1 and an STB, and both tanks I absolutely love. This isn't better than the STB, or it isn't better than the Leopard 1, but it is still a fantastic tank. It's got lovely speed, lovely accuracy, it's got a nice gun, and actually that hatch on top can be very, very troll. You can get bounces, not all the time. People can pen your hatch, but if you keep moving that turret, you will get some bounces. So that is the first 3 tanks, 1 line. Instead of adding a tank, we've added a line. Next up, we have this tank. Instead of the VK72, I would replace it with the VK9001. That leads on from the VK4502. Now this, again, I think it makes more sense adding the VK90 instead of the VK72. I mean, it looks a lot like the VK45. The VK72 doesn't look anything like it. It has the big alpha gun, and so I think this would make more sense adding this tank into the tech tree instead of the VK72. Now I do have to apologise for the quality of this replay. It's not, I got it sent, I asked for people to send me a VK90 because I really wanted to add the video, and I really wanted to make the video, and I didn't quite have all the footage. I needed this footage. I forgot to get this footage. So someone sent me a recording of theirs, and well, it's actually a recording of their friend. Who doesn't know that he sent me the recording, so he might get a little surprise if he watches this video. Fantastic tank, and just like the VK72, it's a great side scraper. Very good side scraper. Now this guy, he's blocked 4.3k damage. He's on nearly 4k damage, and that's why I think this will definitely fit into the German heavy line. You take out the VK72, replace it with this, it just makes more sense. It makes more sense. The hull's pretty much the same, the gun's pretty much the same. I just think it makes more sense adding this than the VK72. And again, maybe you can use the VK72 as an enriched tank or a collectible instead of this tank. I do like the look of this as well. I love the look of this tank. I tested it, they've buffed it since the test, and it is a really, really good tank to own. But I would have liked to have seen this tank in the tech tree. So there is Random Fighter, well done, from the Wreck Clan. Only a first class. I mean, 5k damage with 5k block damage. Well, this is the next one. I mean, the tier 8, we're looking at the Italian line, and what we've done here is we've replaced the Pantera with the Pajeto 46. And again, for me, I mean, this is just my opinion, guys. This is mine. Me and Fizzy was just looking at tanks and thinking, you know what could we replace in the tech tree, or what could we add in the tech tree? And this is one of them that come up on our list, because for me it just makes sense, because you've got a Pajeto, then you've got the standard B, then you've got a Pajeto. Like, I think that makes more sense than having a Pantera, then the standard B, and then a Pajeto. It's a Pajeto, it's an auto-loader, the same. So you could say, you could actually replace this with the Pantera, as it is a Pajeto. Some of these might not even make sense. It might not even make sense. But I think, in my mind, I think it makes more sense adding this as a tier 8 tech tree than the Pantera. And then again, having maybe the Pantera as a premium tank instead of this. So I love this tank. This is probably, if not my second favorite tank in the game, definitely my favorite tier 8 in the game. As you can see, I've got the 5k camo rating on this. I adore this tank. It is a great tank. I prefer this better than the Pantera. The stat wise on paper, the Pantera is much better, but I really do enjoy this tank more than the Pantera, and I would have loved to have seen this in the tech tree. So that is the Pajeto 46. Would have liked to have seen it in the tech tree instead of the Pantera, but it is a premium. I own it, and that's how it is. Next up, this is a tank that everyone has been pretty much expecting. Take away the Death Star, replace it with the Badger. And this is what, didn't they do this on what PC? And this is what people was expecting to happen on Blitz. And this, this is the number one change. This is the number one change which Wargaming should have done. It makes complete sense. Having the tortoise, having all the AT lines, the tortoise, and then a badger makes much more sense than having a whole line of heavily armored tanks with a good rate of fire, low damage, and then give it a Death Star. Something with 900 average, 900 damage per shot plus, and no armor. It just doesn't make sense to have a whole line that's slow, full of armor, high DPM but low damage, and then have a big massive 183 cannon at the end of it. So they should have, before they bring the Badger into the game, I do think that they should have replaced it with the Death Star in the tech tree. People who own the Death Star, they can just have it as like a double line, like the T-62 and the Object 140. They could have had it as a double line maybe, but this should have definitely been in the tech tree after the Tortoise. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm Meadsy. That is my top 4 video of tanks that should be in the tech tree. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
With